Dr. Marty Makary, FDA commissioner. He's author of Blind Spots: When Medicine Gets It Wrong and What It Means for Our Health. We had him on this program quite a lot during the COVID era. He is fantastic. Congrats. I don't remember if we've had you on since you were officially confirmed, but congrats on becoming FDA commissioner, Dr. Makary. And what can you tell us about what you guys just announced this morning? We played the audio, but what exactly should people out there know about kids and pregnant women when it comes to the COVID shot?
Well, great to be with you, Clay, and it's good to be back on your show. You know, we are bringing back gold standard science and common sense, and we've got a dilemma in this country, and that is the government keeps pushing every year that every healthy young girl needs a shot every year for the rest of their life. And the regulatory process has been set up such that no clinical trial or clinical data needs to be submitted each year for the FDA to rubber stamp these COVID shots for young, healthy people. And so we're bringing back science to the process. We are saying that in order for this shot to be approved by the FDA in healthy people, we need to see some clinical trial data to support that it works and that it's safe and effective. We can't just blindly rubber stamp these applications each year in perpetuity forever. There was a theory that people could benefit from these shots each year. The theory is unproven. We'd like to see some scientific support.
When you look back now on Joe Biden saying things like our patience is wearing thin, and that we were going to have a winter of death, will there ever really be any consequences? I know Joe Biden's no longer president, but for people out there who felt pressured because of the actions of the federal government, I'm still angry about it. I know probably you still are. I know a lot of our audience is. Is this to you, the things that are happening now, a form of sort of resolution and restitution for people out there who feel like they were led astray?
Well, people want closure because they feel that they've been lied to about some of the issues around COVID and the vaccine mandates, the vaccine booster mandates for college kids who are completely healthy. And so when you look at what's happening today, you've got this medical elite still living on an island, disconnected from most of the American public. You have statistics that are mind-boggling that speak to that disconnect, like 85% of healthcare workers did not get the COVID booster last season. So on one hand, we've had this government medical establishment machine pounding and insisting that everybody gets a booster every year for the rest of their life, even if they're totally healthy, and a public that has basically moved on and said, no, thank you. We don't really trust you as much anymore. If you look at the numbers on public trust, they've really gone down the toilet. The amount of the percent of Americans that trust doctors and hospitals went from 71% just before COVID to 40% last year. That's a gigantic 31-point drop. And it's because the worst thing you can do in the field of medicine is to put out a recommendation with intense absolutism when the data just is not there to support it. It's an idea. It's a theory.
I'm so glad that you have the role that you do now, because you were right on so much and you were willing to take the slings and arrows that came with it. So was Dr. Bhattacharya. So was RFK Jr. I give credit to the Wall Street Journal editorial board, to Buck's show, to this show, for places out there that were willing to have these conversations. How much personal validation now do you take for something that I'm sure when you were at Johns Hopkins was getting you unrelenting criticism, to be in the position that you are in now alongside of Dr. Bhattacharya, who was very outspoken at Stanford in a way that he suffered a lot of personal consequences, and certainly RFK Jr. now? The three of you who made this announcement today, how much personal vindication do you feel, and how much do you think you're vindicating science, which is about opposing ideas? People, like, the whole idea of science is to challenge conventional authority. That's the very basis of science itself. This world that we ended up in, where I'm the expert, you aren't allowed to challenge. Dr. Fauci saying, I am the science. It's actually the antithesis of everything that science in many ways should represent.
Well, it's the censorship industrial complex that silenced expert physicians from respected academic institutions that simply disagreed with Dr. Fauci or asked questions about the absolutism of the COVID recommendations. That was an ugly chapter in our nation's history, and I hope we never go back there. We're doing a lot to promote transparency and civil discourse now. I hope we can rebuild trust and the scientific process of wrestling and debating on ideas. At the FDA, we're doing a lot now with forums and bringing in people with different ideas to debate how we can do things differently, how we can address our chronic disease epidemic, how we can rethink our food supply. But to some degree, to be honest, Clay, I feel like we lost in some of the battles that we fought during COVID in the Biden administration. We fought like crazy to get the schools back open. And it was very divided. It was very polarizing. And for some crazy reason, it fell along partisan lines. It shouldn't have. And we fought like crazy for the kids. And for the most part, we were not able to get the schools back open during most of that, after the fall of 2020 for almost a year after that. So it's a sad chapter. Kids are still reeling back and they're trying to recover. We have to, almost rescue these kids now and give them special attention because of the learning loss. And I think the greatest untold story of the COVID battles was that the populations hurt the worst were the poor and minority communities in the United States. I practiced at the time at Johns Hopkins and in East Baltimore. I mean, you close those schools and send the kids home with an iPad. It's not like your country club suburbs that are wealthy. And those kids took a horrible beating from these misguided COVID policies. So we're trying to rebuild public trust. Secretary Kennedy's got a great vision. Jay Bhattacharya is doing it. Mehmet Oz is a transformational leader at CMS, and we're doing everything we can at the FDA to focus on our mission of delivering more cures for the American public and healthier food for children.
What do you think, having been through these battles? You just hammered, and I think it's the worst part of COVID, frankly, is the fact that the poorest among us, the public school kids, I was a public school kid, K to 12, a lot of them left and didn't come back to school for over a year in physical person. These are the kids that have the less resources, don't have private tutors, don't have the ability to go to private school like Gavin Newsom's kids do. When you hear Randy Weingarten now say that she was working super hard to try to reopen schools, what's your reaction?
Well, her group edited the school reopening policy of the CDC to make it stricter, and those edits were incorporated in the final version that was published by the Biden administration and the CDC. And that was tragic because you did not have a scientific document. You had a document that was interfered with by a special interest group at the expense of children. So there's a lot of lessons we should learn from COVID, but I think the biggest lesson is that we should let scientists be scientists and do their job.
The announcement again today, you came on this show for years, and I want to give you credit. I mean, my two youngest kids were certainly not ever going to get the COVID shot based on the data. And we talked a lot about natural immunity and the impact that it was going to have. It's been 5 years, and I know for many people out there, it feels still like the snap of fingers. What has to happen for public trust in health to return to where it was pre-COVID?
I think we have to be successful as a new team coming in. I think we have to be incredibly transparent. I think we have to address the big issues of our day that we are not talking about. You know, COVID was a snapshot into how you saw a ruling class in America create rules for themselves that benefited themselves. They could send their kids to private schools. The country clubs were booming throughout COVID. For a lot of the Zoomocracy in America, they were going to work now in their pajamas on video conferencing. Come to inner city Baltimore, it was an entirely different story, and you saw sort of the tyranny of the ruling class write rules for themselves. And it's not just with COVID; it is also with the great public health issues of our day. Why do 40% of American kids have a chronic disease. If you think about what we've been taught in medical school, it's this weird dynamic where we sort of blame kids for being sick. We don't talk about the food supply, the availability of healthy foods, food chemicals, food ingredients, all the stuff that are coming up in the Make America Healthy Again report that came out a week ago. That is a fresh new perspective, because we can't just keep talking about financing our broken healthcare system. We have to talk about fixing it. And to fix it, we have to get at these root causes. So we're changing the conversation from just talking about chemotherapy and insulin to actually talking about environmental exposures and the food we eat and school lunch programs. You're seeing action on the SNAP waivers by the USDA so that government dollars aren't going to all this sugary junk food in the SNAP program. You're seeing some real movement we've never seen before. So to rebuild public trust, in my opinion, Clay, we'll do it best by succeeding at actually making progress on improving the health of the population by addressing these root causes.
Last question for you. When you are out traveling, and we're talking to Dr. Marty Makary, the FDA commissioner, his book is, I want to make sure that I get this right. The most recent book is, Allie, text me that again. I'll get it before we leave. Blind Spots. When you still see people wearing masks, going on airplanes, when you still see kids sometimes, I can't believe this is happening, still wearing masks. What do you think?
Well, part of me thinks, I don't know what their personal clinical situation is, but the other part of me thinks it may be somebody who's entirely young and healthy who has been misled and given a false sense of security that if they do this one mitigation step, that somehow they're going to help achieve a COVID-0 world, which, remember, for a lot of COVID, there was actually this mindset that we would get to zero COVID, that we would eradicate the virus. And so when I see somebody, I think I don't blame them. I blame the people who have given them the impression that if you wear a mask in public every day for the rest of your life as a young, healthy person, you're going to somehow live a healthier, greater life. Kids have had their face covered for nearly 3 years over some of this dogma in parts of the country, and the kids are sad. I mean, the kids are the 1 in 4 teen girls is being treated for depression. And so there are statistics that tell us we've got to not just have a myopic focus on viral transmission of one virus, but instead treat the entire person as a living, beautiful human being. And that's where I hope we can go.
Dr. Marty Makary, congratulations, FDA Commissioner. The book, Blind Spots, When Medicine Gets It Wrong and What It Means for Our Health. Thank you for fighting so hard during COVID, and thank you for fighting so hard for us. Still, big announcement today. Appreciate the time.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Clay.
Dr. Marty Makary, one of the heroes, along with Dr. Bhattacharya. I hope that when history is written of the COVID era, that guys like him and guys like Dr. Bhattacharya and many others who were willing to speak up against the tidal wave of inhumanity and anti-science, that their stories are a true story of heroism in the face of a great deal of attacks. We'll talk about some of that when we come back. But look, you heard the great news on prescription drug prices earlier this month, right? President Trump has signed an executive order slashing the cost of prescription drugs, going after the price gouging for drugs you're now getting with Obamacare. We've introduced you to a new healthcare partner, Ease for Everyone. Compared to Obamacare, Ease for Everyone comes with a monthly cost as low as $262. You get access to over 400 prescription drugs for free, not just at a lower cost, but no cost, $0. Unlike the broken promise of Obamacare, you actually get to keep your doctor, plus you get free unlimited virtual primary care. You can have affordable health care for as low as $262 a month today. Go online to easeforeveryone.com/Clay and join today. That's easeforeveryone.com/Clay. One more time, save a bundle, get the best deal for you and your family. easeforeveryone.com/Clay. Join today.